What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Mondoid, your weekly Project Zomboid update blog thing, as it tends to be known at this point. This week, we don't get too much, unfortunately. We do get some stuff that I can kind of speculate on and give my opinion on, but overall, we get something that we kind of knew was in the works, or, through different pictures, knew this was coming already. And that was the total reworking and redoing of the Muldrow city. Basically, it's, I believe this is Mash Potassium, who's writing this, or Marina, as her real name would be, writing this blog, and she writes it in a very humorous way, if I could speak the English language, and I highly suggest, as always, to go read this, especially since there's a video at the end that you might want to check out. Now, the overall theme of this particular blog, and the overall theme of kind of what I've said in my playthrough a few times, is the current way Muldrow is laid out in all of the current versions is kind of weird, because it's like a few houses here, then immediately with like a few steps walking distance you're in the city, and then you got the big city, and it just kind of feels like this amalgamation of get everything into the map and just try to get on one cell, which for a demo, for an alpha version, makes complete sense, right? You want to try and get everything in there to test everything out, get the players to play it, kind of get their feedback, but eventually that needs to get rolled back and kind of be placed proper. And as you can see, this picture right here that we could pop open is what Muldrow is looking like now. Things are looking quite spacious, I guess would be what you want to do. Since Muldrow is an actual city, they've been basing it on the satellite shot of Muldrow itself, which we can find here, that we could pop open and we could take a look. This is, actually Muldrow right here. But we're going to go back to the website and talk more about this. So what is she talking about? Well, she basically says, in the current version of the game, there are houses without bedrooms and some without bathrooms and some without both, which if you actually have been following my more recent playthrough, you realize that in the current community I'm in, I have some houses that don't have any bathrooms, don't have any, anywhere, like it just doesn't make sense. No bathrooms, no bedrooms, it's bizarre. So they changed that. But on top of changing that, they have spread everything out in the number of somewhere, I believe, of about like 20 cells probably. Right now, they're talking about, while the core of Muldrow nears completion as we speak, the outskirts, 400 cells of outskirts are also being developed with lovely remote locations to visit to. So remember the farm that I actually would say, wow, this is kind of a trek to get to this farm? Well, that long trek has been even stretched longer. Because they're basically making this huge map, which is such a massive undertaking, that long trek to the farm is going to take probably videos worth of me getting there, as an example, to do that. Now that's awesome, right? Because there's a well there, first of all, and if I'm even coming close, if I even think for a split second, okay, I could be running out of water at any minute, I should probably go to this farm, I need to plan probably a month's worth of in-game time to get there, right? Maybe a little less, depending on exactly how far away it is. But along the way, you're going to have much more to look at. It's not just me walking down this lonesome highway with the forest all around. It's going to be, I'm going to be going through all kinds of stuff, different cities, residences, dealing with zombies, etc., etc., etc. So it's kind of neat. One of the other things she talks about is how not everything is going to be nearly as clumped as it was. So, I may not live a block away from the largest supermarket in the game. In fact, the way the map is laid out now, food runs and just kind of survival, once you kind of understand the mechanics of the game, are very simple because everything is very close, right? Everything is cram-packed, very, very simple to kind of get where you need to go and get what you need, and you can avoid the zombies pretty decently. And if the zombies are anywhere nearby, there's usually an alternate route you can get to where you need to go because the map is so small, you can always get there somehow. Well, what they're saying and what Mash is saying here is that no longer will you be able to just walk down the block to the market. The market's going to be a good distance away. And what does that mean for a player, for someone like me, who above all else cherishes the survival aspect of this game? That means things are going to be much more difficult. For now, when I say I want to go on a scavenge run for food, that probably takes about 2 in-game hours out of my character's day, maybe 3, right? Now, you think about it like an actual scavenge run, it'll probably take the entire day worth of gameplay. It's going to take the entire in-game day for me to get there, and I probably won't even get home in time. If I'm going to go out and scavenge groceries or scavenge food or scavenge weapons, that has to be a project I plan ahead to do. And that is something that does not exist in the current version of the game now, as it stands, and something that desperately needs to be part of this game, and they're actually talking about bringing that into the game, which is really, really cool. So I'm looking very heavily forward to that survival aspect being once again thrown under the magnifying glass and looked at very intently with the idea behind it of, okay, this game is going to be tougher. We need to be more realistic, and with more realistic equals basically a difficulty hike. So I'm really excited about that. And with them talking about expanding Muldrow, the core of Muldrow, which will come with RC3, don't worry, the outskirts I believe are set for later release. You know, you're already looking at a much more in-depth kind of gaming experience when you're playing in just that little county of Muldrow. So that's really cool, right? So what else are they talking about can you find? Well, of course, they're going to have the typical stuff, but they're going to have a lot of like spiffos and the typical buildings, but they're going to have new things. Things that you've seen in a more earlier blog post. One like Pizza World, which is the new pizza place, and a couple other places that you can spend comfortable nights in that they're talking about. Many new tiles have been created. 125 tile sheets are available compared to the previous 39. Now think about that. One of the things I said many times is that with a game this size, from an indie developing standpoint, what is going to be one of the hardest things for them to do? In my opinion, one of the hardest things and one of the most important things was maintaining a variety in the look of your game. With a game this big, you can't have repeating textures all the time because eventually it's going to get very boring to look at. Well, they've already kind of addressed that, it looks like, with 125 tile sheets. That's a little less than 100 more than they previously had. That's huge. That's going to mean monstrous amounts of variety with all kinds of fun things to talk about. They said they can't see what comes in the future. Outside of that, the only thing they have on this particular blog post here is a video. And this is basically the EXP system in action. I highly suggest going to check this out. I'm not going to play it here. Basically, the EXP system, which came out, 2 or 3 blog posts ago, they showed it a bit. They're actually showing how it works fully now, in video form. How does it work? How do you spend skill points? And there's actually detachable tabs. You can actually organize the menu the way you want it to look. They talk about turning some active abilities into passive abilities now, etc., etc. So really cool just to kind of check out and just kind of feast your eyes on the EXP system you're going to be dealing with and potentially even begin to start planning what kind of character you want to play. They also show a little bit of book reading, and one of the things I really like is that reading a book gives you the multiplier, like an experience multiplier on the particular book you're reading. So I'm reading a carpentry book, right? So I read some of the carpentry book, maybe not that much, but I read some of it. All right, cool, I have a ×2. It's not going to be that great, but it's going to be something. So next time I need to build some walls or some barricades, my walls and barricades, when I'm building that, the experience I get from that is going to be just a little bit more because I did read that book. And reading books are going to take nights and nights and nights of your character sitting down and reading to get the full kind of blown experience boost that you need to get from them. So I highly suggest you go check out their video, and that's pretty much it as far as Mondoid is concerned. It's a very brief, very quick Mondoid, which is fine. It just means they're hard at work working on the game itself, and I'm looking forward, as always, to RC3 coming out. If you are interested, you feel free to swing over to one of my other playthroughs. I think I'm on episode 32 right now of my survival playthrough, and right now I'm itching to get back to Crusader Kings because that game has me hooked beyond hooked, and I'm looking forward to getting to it. As always, I highly recommend going and check out this blog. As I said, if you're new to the channel, feel free to swing by and check out the rest of my channel. If you are not new to my channel, well, then you know where to go for the rest of your stuff. I don't really need to direct you that way, but if you do, I'll give you a link if you're lazy, I guess. Other videos I have going right now is Project Zomboid, XCOM, and Legend of Grimrock. And once one of those finished, I have another game session planned. And one of my new series, Killed in Action, Missing in Action, is going to be released potentially tomorrow or Wednesday. So we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you soon, if not next week.